welcome back for another video. I'm Eharbad, a free-to-play endgame player in Raid Shadow Legends. Right, so today we have two things to talk about on the agenda. Firstly, it's the guaranteed void legendary in Chorgor for 110 voids. Now, at least this champion is a significantly better champion than Alil, but 110 voids is still a lot of shards. They really are accumulated very slowly. It takes a very long time to save up 110 voids. If you are a spender, then it's a lot of money to get 110 voids as well. So I think overall, the champion has to be a really strong champion to justify 110 voids. I mean, we're talking about if the champion was of a similar quality to, say, a Necmo or a Kimmy, then maybe. A void equivalent of that kind of caliber of champion, then we could potentially say this would be worth your investment. I just don't think Chogor is that champion. Yes, I'm aware he's very strong if you want to do speed farming in Sand Devil, but personally I'm pretty content with the Ninja Godseeker duo on stage 24. It requires very little effort from me to do that, and I don't actually farm it very much at all. I don't spend much time in that dungeon anyway, because if anyone who's followed any of my videos for any period of time will know, I have very low estimation of the artifact ascension mechanic within the game. So anyway, that's my short take on the Chorgor guaranteed void. It's not a champion I'm going to be going for. I'll continue to save my resources and wait for a better opportunity to pull those shards. On to the second point of the video, which is the announced fusion Oella. And as always, I try and do a kind of fusion review in my own way, with a slightly different take on kind of reviewing the fusions than most other people go for. With that in mind, if we first start with the abilities, we have on the A1 a single hit 100% decreased speed. Now, during the Morrigan fusion, we cited that her A1 really needed to be either an AoE or 100% chance on a single target to be useful. Now we have to give credit where it's due. Plarium did listen, and we now have a champion that could be very useful for Iron Twins. Unfortunately, there are not that many other instances where this particular single target debuff is that useful, particularly given the rest of the kit. With the A2, we have an AoE 30% heal. It is based on the target HP, and an increased buff duration. So really the main issue here, I'd say, is that the heal is based on the target HP. One of the things that makes Wither so strong is because her 30% heal is based on her own HP rather than the target HP. That said, in Iron Twins, Hydra, and various other pieces of endgame content, you are building high HP levels across all champions anyway. So it is still a good heal, and it's a good ability due to the extension. It's a very similar overall ability, really, to what you get from Godseeker. Then we have on the A3 an AoE 30% turn meter fill with an AoE 50% increased resistance buff. Now, the TM fill is very good. 30% is pretty much as good as you can expect. The increased resistance is nice, but it is quite situational. Since we have the buff extension within the kit, this is the first champion that brings 100% uptime on increased resistance, which actually makes it usable in the sense that it's now reliable. Places such as Bommel, Iron Twins, and Hydra will see reduced stat requirements if you are running this champion. However, can you fit her into your teams? That is another question to consider. The passive has good healing potential, especially in fights that we've been discussing so far, such as Bommel, Iron Twins, and Hydra, where all of these fights we take quite a lot of AoE damage, and the passive will be triggered. The last thing to discuss is the aura. 75 res is nice, but the dungeon only restriction on a legendary, why bother? It works for Iron Twins, but not for Bomber or Hydra. I would have preferred a lower number, but all battles. Overall, I'd say the champion is good with some interesting abilities. If Alton of the Shell is a good champion that we can actually acquire, then a realistic pairing could be really quite interesting, particularly the irresistible A1. Overall, it feels like the champion is missing something, though. If we now have a look at the various areas of the game, what we can say, Faction Wars, definite A rating. I mean, you have a TM fill, you have heal, you have decreased speed for those boss stages. Undoubtedly, she's going to be strong in Faction Wars. However, the faction already has quite a lot of healing support champions, such as Elva and Nia. It's not really a compelling reason for most players to get the fusion just for Faction Wars. But if you don't have Elva, then it's probably a no-brainer to pick her up. The next best place is Twins. If you aren't running a block damage team and need to fight Iron Twins the way Plarium intended, then this champion is top tier. She's probably even going to be best in slot if you can make use of the irresistible modifier on the A1. Past that, if we look at Doom Tower, as we mentioned Bommel previously, but also Eternal Dragon and even maybe Dark Fae are potential fights for this champion. She won't feature in any speed teams, but does bring utility for many to progress in these fairly tricky encounters. She's not going to bring much against waves and has minimal impact on other bosses, however. In dungeons generally, she'll be good for progression, but again, doesn't really bring anything that's going to unlock any of the dungeons except maybe Ice Golem. The heals and increased resistance could be strong for progression through Ice Golem, but these aren't going to be quick clears. In Hydra, she's a good overall support champion, but has no revive, and the decreased speed isn't AoE. Unfortunately, she's not really bringing enough to the team to feature in many compositions aiming to be, brutal or higher, unless you have a Necmo or Krisk to pair with her to fill all the gaps of the mechanics that you're missing. But if you do have those champions, then you probably don't need this champion either. It's a bit of a catch-22. If we consider Arena, she could be an answer to increase accuracy teams. I find it doubtful though, as not many people use increased accuracy on defense, and it's unlikely you're going to go with a high-res, high-speed stall team using her to increase resistance on your own offense. As for Clan Boss, just don't use her. Seriously, just don't use her. So overall, I'd say perhaps there might be some new future content that will unlock the potential of Oella. Maybe the duo will be overpowered, but we don't know anything about her partner in crime. Otherwise, I think for the vast majority of the player base, this champion will be a faction war only, or possibly just a Vault Guard. I will still almost certainly pick her up on my main, because I can do all of the fusions without too much exertion. But I think when it comes to my challenge account, this isn't the champion that's going to unlock anything within the game for me. So I'm going to be hoping that some of the epics fill some of those roles that I'm desperately missing. Maybe a decreased attack champion for Clan Boss, maybe a really strong cleanser for progression. There's many roles that I currently don't have, a speed booster, something like that. And we'll see. At least you get High Katoon in like 10 days' time, so worst case scenario, we can always rely on High Katoon to fill out the TM boosting role. Anyway, I digress. That will be all for this video. As always, thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Any feedback you've got on what you think about either the Chargor Guaranteed or the new fusion or the upcoming fusion Oella, please do put so in the comments. I do read them all. I can't reply to every single one, but rest assured I will have read it. As always, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye for now.